Okay, so what I'm doing is I've drawn my patterns and I'm going through, and now this is a metallic marker. You don't have to use a metallic marker. You can use whatever you want. I'll tell you, I love Sharpies, but they're really expensive. Metallic Sharpie markers, you actually need to store in a cup upside down. If you lay it on flat or if you put it right side up, it will dry out faster. So if you look in my Sharpie container that I have here, all of my color Sharpies are upright, but my metallic Sharpies are upside down because it keeps the metallic pigment going towards the tip of the marker and it makes it last longer. Sometimes also you'll get a color and it's not working very well, so you'll take it and if you go like this, like on the side, because of that metallic pigment, it gets it working again, and then you can reuse it. That way, you won't lose your expensive marker. If you don't have the money for Sharpies, because they're expensive, some of the best metallic markers I actually get are from the dollar store. The dollar store carries I think it's called Dot. I think that's the brand that it's called. And they have metallic markers. Sometimes you can get a pack of 3 for $1, but most of the time it's just 1 for $1. And they last just as long as Sharpies. Work really, really well. I like metallics because you can draw your simple lines or patterns you see, which I have here. And then it just makes everything kind of pop with that contrast. On this checkerboard or chess piece or tile pattern, a lot of people call them different things in class. I'm going to draw a frame around my pattern here. I'm drawing on a note card. I like to draw on note cards because of the small size. And I feel like I work faster if I have the smaller piece to work with. I'm not distracted by the other lines, the other areas. So I'm going to put this to the side. And remember, I've done like this one. I did the scribbling. I've done horizontal lines, vertical lines. I've done one in just grayscale. I could have a pattern like this if I want to. And I could come in and I could pick colors that I have. Let's just say I want the whole background. You could leave it white. Patterns, you can have those white spaces. Like this, I normally don't like white spaces, but it makes sense for this area to be white, which is why I left it. My personal preference is to have some type of color in it. So for this, I'm going to use the side of my color stick, which is like a crayon or a color pencil. So it's a cross between the two. And then I'm going to get a different color. Since this is the pattern, I'm just going to scribble on the inside. Now normally, I would be like, ooh, I need to work on my craftsmanship and make sure that that looks a lot nicer and neater. But I'm being consistent. All of them look this way. And remember, I'm making a pattern to use for another work of art. I don't like that blue with that. I'm going to switch to purple. I am not doing a final work of art, but this is the final product. Otherwise, my craftsmanship would not be considered my best for this. So I'm coloring in these. Remember, I've timed myself so that I'm giving myself about a minute per piece, per texture or pattern, because I don't want to make something that I'm not willing to cut up. I want to make a lot of them in a short amount of time. So here are these. This is a pattern or a repetition of shapes. This is a pattern or a repetition of those shapes and blocks of color, and then the lines that are around there. And then of course you've seen these. I'm going to do one more set because I like colored paper too. Now you can use a full sheet of colored paper, but this is the colored paper that I provided for you in your folder if you were able to pick one up. So I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna start with the black paper, and it seems like that's not something you could easily draw on, but you can use chalk on this, or if I've got my black, I can use my white and I can add my mark making. Now because I have this piece of paper on my table here, I can draw from edge to edge, and it can go off the edge of my paper, and I don't worry about it. You don't want to stop here unless you do that for all of them. You want it to be consistent, but this way I don't worry about it. I'm also lifting my mark up, so I'm not doing like a zigzag, which would be fine for this. I'm gonna add a little bit more of a hint of a color. I hope that you can see that. Chalk pastels, oil pastels. I like these color sticks because color sticks really work great on your black paper. The other thing that works great, I think I said, are the pastels. And if you're lucky enough to have something called construction paper crayons, those have a really strong pigment, or even oil pastels. Oil pastels work great. I got these oil pastels from, I think, Hobby Lobby. They were like $4. They're not very expensive at all. I might put just a little bit of a red. Yeah, I like that contrast. Again, we're just looking at textures and patterns. So for this, I am gonna do like a zigzag scribble. Notice I'm keeping it consistent so that when I'm doing it, I'm going from edge to edge so it covers that space. As the artist, you can do your choice on what kind of texture you would like because you're the one that's gonna be using it. Now for my black, I'm gonna press down really hard because I want for that to stand out a little bit more. So you can see, I can just keep going on drawing different lines. There's no wrong answer here. Maybe I have, I've been doing a lot of patterns with lines and shapes. Maybe I want to do a pattern with a color. And notice you can use all kinds. Don't think that just your crayon or your material is just on the tip. Some of them, like these color sticks, you can use the whole piece itself. Just like when you have a Sharpie, and I'll use a Sharpie for this one, or any kind of a marker. I think I have a Crayola marker over here. You have these tips like this because I can take this marker here and I can draw a line like that if I wanted. Because I drew it there, I'm going to draw it here too so I can keep my pattern going so it repeats. But I can also take it and on its side do a wider marker. That's for like filling in those larger areas. So my same marker can do more than one point, more than one design. Same thing with a Sharpie. I can come in and I can do my lines here. And then I can also, on its side, like, and I get a different mark with the same Sharpie. All right. For these, this is your art. There's not going to be any right or wrong answer. Just as long as you do your different patterns, textures. Just as long as you need at least 4 patterns, 4 textures for a total of 8. If you want to do more, because I did, then you can. Right. Let me know if you have any questions.